What's up YouTube, Tech Guy Hodger here, and in this video what I'm going to be doing is basically going over what happened at the Samsung Galaxy Note event. Well, it wasn't just for them, it was IFA 2012, but that was the main attraction. So let's quickly go over what they announced. They announced more than just the Note 2, which was a bit interesting. They announced the Note 2 and they announced three more things which I'm going to cover very vaguely, but let's cover the main thing which everyone wants to hear about, which is the Note 2. So let's first get the basics out of the way. So it's running 3G HSPA Plus with 4G where 4G is available, so currently in America and other countries. It's got a 1.6 GHz quad-core processor and a display which is 5.5 inches, and it's a HD Super AMOLED display with a resolution of 1280 by 720. A lot of people were a bit disappointed by the resolution. Maybe they wanted it to be 1080. I don't know if screens can be that high res. Maybe someday they can be. And the good thing about the Note 2 is that it comes stock with Android 4.1 with the TouchWiz interface already installed on the phone, of course. So this is probably a sign that Samsung's Galaxy S3 could be getting the software update really soon. People are saying September, the beginning or middle of September. So it will be really nice for us to for the Samsung Galaxy S3 owners to finally get a taste of Android 4.1. So let's get on to the camera. The back camera, which is the main camera, is the 8 megapixel camera with an LED flash and records 1080p. The front camera is a 1.9 megapixel, and there's not really any kind of indication of what kind of recordings it can do. I mean, the S3 can record in the front camera records in 720p, so hopefully the Note 2 also records with the front 720p. And of course the camera has the same functions that the S3 had, where you've got non-stop shooting, and you have that feature where it's the best photo, and where that means if you take multiple shots, the camera picks out the best photo for you, and you can save that or choose a different one. And the Note 2 also has NFC built in, and this has gone beyond the whole mobile paying thing. The NFC capability is also good for transferring files, as we saw with the S3, where you put two phones together and the file gets transferred. The phone comes in three variants: a 16 gig, a 32 gig, and a 64 gig. This is really good because currently the S3 is only available in 16 gig. I know Vodafone do it in 32 gig, but for other people they're gonna have to kind of settle with 16. I mean, personally, I would like to not have to constantly keep managing my memory, because when you have 16 gig, that does get filled up really quickly with apps and music and pictures. So 32 gig I think is a sweet spot. 64 is if you're an extreme user where you have millions of apps. But I think this is good that they are introducing three variants. Hopefully it's not that one carrier has the 16 gig, the other has the 32. I hope there's an option through all carriers that you can choose whatever memory you want. And of course, yeah, it has a micro SD card slot where you can have up to 64 gigs of memory. So if you've got the 32 gig phone the 64 gig Note 2 with a 64 gig memory card, you've got more than enough memory to last your lifetime. And of course it has 2 gigs of RAM. And we'll have to see how this goes when it comes to the UK, because I believe the S3 in the States has 2 gigs of RAM, whereas the one over here only has 1 gig. But then that's because we get the quad-core processor, whereas in the States they only get the dual-core. It has a battery life of 13,000 milliamp hours, and that is a good battery for what the device is. I mean, just powering that big screen would probably take half the battery itself. Okay, so now let's get on to a bit of more interesting information. So it will be available in 128 countries on launch, and they are looking for a launch of October. And before making this video, I was on Twitter, and I've seen that 3UK I'll probably put a link below or something. They have confirmed that they will be having the Note 2 in stock when it is launched. So if you're with 3 and your upgrades coming up soon, there's a good phone for you if you're someone that likes Android. And hopefully the iPhone comes out soon for all us iOS users. I say us, but I'm an Android user, but I was an iPhone user for a very long time. The screen ratio is 16:9, which is really good for watching movies widescreen, and because of that Super HD AMOLED display, movies will be crisp and images will be sharper. And then they went on to talk about something called AirView. Now, AirView, when I first heard of this, I'll be honest with you, while I was watching the keynote, but when I first heard the word, I thought it was their version of AirPlay for the Note 2, but it was something completely different. So what this is if you have the S Pen, which obviously comes with the phone, if you hover over an email, a gallery album, a message, a video, anything, if you hover over it, you get a preview before you actually go into that folder, that message, or that video. If you have a Mac, it's a bit like preview when you hit the spacebar and you get a preview of what is in that document, in that image, in that video. So this is really good if you just want to have a quick look at what that message says without stop doing that with your hands. Can't you just sit still for 2 minutes?
It's like 10 minutes.
So this is really good for if you want to check your message, check your image or a video before you actually open it and do whatever you need to do with it. And also, because of AirView, you're able to scroll through a video and you get a little preview of whereabouts in that video you are. So this is good if you watch a lot of movies on your device, so you know exactly where you left off and you can pick up from that point. And then they talked about pop-up note. Now this is something which is really good. I wish iOS had this, to be honest. I keep referencing iOS, but I have to get it into my head that I am an Android user currently, but that might change someday. I don't know. So pop-up note is basically, you know, when you're on the phone and someone says, "Have you got a pen and paper handy to take down a number?" and you start running around trying to find one. Well, with pop-up note, what happens is you take out the S Pen from the back, and when you turn to the screen, a little note screen pops up and lets you write. Like, it overlays the phone interface. So if you're on the phone and normally it says end call, loudspeaker, so on, the note will overlay all of that. So you can write on top, or you can write as you're in the call, take down numbers, write down a quick note that someone said to you that you need to remember, or you need to remind them of something. And so this is really good so that you don't have to start running around to find a pen where you want to take down notes or a phone number or something like that. So it saves a lot of time that way, and it saves for some awkward conversations, because when you're trying to look for a pen and paper, or you're just silent on the other line, and they want you to hurry up and get on and find a pen so they can give you the information they want to give you. And the S Pen has been redesigned. It's got pressure points in the pen itself, in the holder, and I can't remember how many, but it's got a lot of pressure points in the actual tip of the pen. And they will be releasing a 2.2 SDK for the S Pen, so developers can develop apps which take advantage of the S Pen in many ways. And then they went on to show apps which are currently being developed for specifically to be used with the S Pen. So Sketchbook are making an app for the Note 2 where you can draw and do artistic things. They were emphasizing creativity a lot in this keynote. The word creativity came up after like every sentence. They kept pushing that word, creativity, being creative. So does that mean this phone isn't for the basic user, or are they trying to target creative people? I don't know, but this is a phone for everyone, and looking at the specs, it's a very, very high-end phone. A lot of people have been saying on Twitter that this is the most powerful smartphone to date. It was a bit different to the phone. They talked about the Note, they got that all out of the way, and then they started talking about something else. Let me quickly open up my notes. They started talking about the Samsung Ativ Smart PC. Now this was a literal cross between a notebook and a tablet. The reason they were able to do this is because they have a detachable keyboard on, so it's the keyboard uses magnets and you can attach it to the screen, so and then it becomes a laptop, but then detach it from the keyboard and you have yourself a tablet. And there are two variants to this. There's the Ativ Smart PC and the Samsung Ativ Pro. And the difference is that you get a full HD screen with the Pro, you get an i5 processor and 4 gigs of RAM, and I think it was 256 gigs of onboard SSD. And then they went on to talk about another product, which was the Samsung Ativ tablet. I don't understand why they had to launch this, because they've already said that the notebook becomes a tablet, but then they have the need to launch a tablet on its own. Maybe what's happening is that that Ativ is not able to run tablet apps on it, so they have to launch a separate tablet, which is just that. It's just a tablet, and it has apps which can run on it without having any issue. And I guess that's probably what it is. So it's a bit like having a mobile laptop without a keyboard, but you can't run apps on it. But then you have your tablet at home, which is exactly the same, but it has apps. I don't understand why they couldn't have integrated it all into one package rather than having two different devices. I can understand the Ativ Pro thing, that's for more pro end users rather than just me and you. But I don't understand why they have to launch a tablet and a laptop, notebook slash tablet all in one, and a tablet on its own. It's a bit confusing. And then they went on to launch the Ativ Mobile. So this was a phone which runs Windows 8. To be honest with you, I kind of closed off the keynote at that point. I just really wanted to know about the Note 2. So if I'll make an update video if you're interested in the Windows 8 phone that Samsung announced, let me know in the comments and I will get on to that. So that is basically what was announced in the event. Personal opinion, it's an amazing phone. I'd have to see what in person, because if you don't know what it looks like, if you've seen the S3, let me just show you my S3. So just imagine the S3 but bigger. It is literally a massive Samsung Galaxy S3, but obviously with much higher specs. And that is saying something when it comes to the S3. So that is basically it. So I guess I'll see you again another time in another video. Take care.
Hot.